Hey crafty friends, Einat Kessler here with Saturday Extravaganza. Thank you very much for joining me. And today I'm creating a steampunk Christmas tree canvas. I think it's about time to start creating all those Christmas crafts and decorations and gifts and handmade, presents. It's not too early, right? So let's get started. I have here an 8 by 8 inches canvas. It's pre-gessoed. You buy it this way. You don't have to gesso it. And I'm using some old book pages that are quite aged. You see how yellow they are? And I'm using some Mod Podge. This is a matte finish, but if you prefer it to be more glossy, then go ahead. You can use that. And what I'm going to do is cover the entire canvas with my old book pages, with those beautiful vintage papers. So you need a coat of Mod Podge on the canvas, and then another layer of Mod Podge on the paper. So I'm covering the edges too. Don't forget the corner. Now for the corner, just fold the paper like that, like you would for upholstery or a present or any other corner that you have. And don't forget to apply one more coat of Mod Podge on the paper. So this seals it and gives it a nice finish. So I'm tearing some of my papers. Don't want all the edges to be straight. So I'm tearing some of them. And it's actually, I think it's written in French. So it's not even an English book, but as long as the writing is visible and the yellow tone is visible, that's what I want. So let's finish with that. Now before you go ahead and continue, you'll make sure that everything is dry, and I'm just tearing whatever leftover excess there is. And you can let it sit and dry or just use your heat tool. So mine is dry, and I'm just going to go ahead with 2 shades of distress ink. The black one, which is Black Suit, and the brown one, which is Walnut Stain. I'm just going to go around the edges and the sides of the canvas and create a frame, so to speak, and more of a definition to the canvas. And once that's ready, just gonna again make sure that the ink is dry. So I have here some beautiful rusty pieces of metal, and they're rusty, dusty, dirty, and full of wear and tear, which is exactly what we want in steampunk, or at least what I want. And I'm going to arrange them like that. But before I glue them down to the canvas, I have here a chain. It's by Tim Holtz, and I just want to attach it from one hole on one side to another hole, and then I'm going to hang stuff on it. But I can't do that if it's glued down to the canvas, so I'm doing that beforehand. And I have here a really large a closure for a necklace, I'm not sure what exactly it's called. And this is, it's large enough to fit in the other hole, so I'm attaching the chain to that with a jump ring that is very elusive and refuses to go where it's supposed to go, and sometimes that happens again. But if you are very persistent and you insist, then finally it will go where you want it to go. So now both pieces are attached with the chain, and I can go ahead and glue everything down. And I'm going to add whatever stuff on the chain later. So I'm just using tacky glue. It's you need a strong glue because this canvas is going to be hanged on the wall. So you don't want any of the pieces of metal to fall down. So you need a strong glue to attach it to the canvas. Now the reason I'm adding some foam tape here on the bottom is because there is a difference of heights. This piece is excuse me, this piece is not exactly straight, so in order to compensate for the height I need to add the foam tape, and then I'm going to add some glue on top of the foam tape and glue it down just to make sure everything holds. So this is going to be the bottom of my tree, and then I can go ahead and attach more. Now here again I just want to create differences in height, so I am compensating with some foam tape, and just use your judgment in terms of the weight of each piece. If you think it's light enough for a foam tape to hold, some foam tapes are actually really strong, like this, the one that I'm using, so it's highly possible that you won't need extra glue. But if something is really heavy, then go ahead and add a little bit of liquid glue. Like this piece here is thick and heavy, so I'm just going to do it with some tacky glue, which is a really, by the way, which is a really strong glue. And I'm just pressing from the bottom to make sure it's nice and tight and glued down to the canvas. So just match the glue to the weight of the metal. That's basically the best tip I can give you. Adding this one as well. So my tree is ready. Isn't that beautiful tree? Very rusty, just like we love it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add all those beautiful embellishments, or ornaments in this case, because it is a Christmas tree, right? So first I'm going to hang some stuff on my chain with a jump ring, and I have here a little charm and a key, very small key, which I'm going to attach to the chain, again with the jump ring. Had to go get that. Now I'm not a jewelry maker, so I don't have all the different types of pliers. I only use two, and the other one, the bigger one, is basically not even for jewelry, it's just a regular plier. So if you're a jewelry maker, it will be easier for you to use the right tools, but these tools are good for me. I don't need any other. All you need to do is all you need to have is nose pliers that you can open and close jump rings, and some tweezers that will help you hold the pieces while you work with them, and the pliers that can cut the metal, wires and things like that. That's basically what you need. You have all kinds of fancy tool for different types of beads and jump rings and parts and supplies, but since I'm not a jewelry maker, I don't need them. So these two guys here are already hanged on my chain, dangling away, and I can go ahead and add other ornaments like cogwheels and clock faces and metal things and stuffed clock parts and all kinds of things. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue them with my tacky glue, which I remind you dries clear, so don't stress about all the white glue that is very visible, because with metal you need, it's not like paper that you can just use a little bit of glue. With metal it's heavier and it doesn't absorb the glue, so basically the best thing is to use a little bit more than you would use on paper. So there's my clock face, adding that one too. And again, it all depends how crazy you want to go, how many embellishments and ornaments you want to add, or I should say embellishments that are ornaments on this tree. You can go crazy and add a ton, or you can add a few. I think I'm not adding too many. I think it's enough. Another clock face with little hands. And as usual, I'm starting from the larger pieces, and then we have a game of fill in the blanks with the smaller pieces that go in between the larger ones. So that's usually the basic rule of creating collage or some kind of artwork that includes lots of tiny things on it. Always start with the large pieces and then go ahead and add smaller ones. So you can just go ahead and keep on adding more stuff until you're pleased with the way that your tree looks. I have here a clock part that I'm going to add on top, and maybe another tiny piece on this side. And it's, steampunk is usually machine parts and cogwheels and clocks and things like that, but I have here a few more flowery designs and additions because it is, after all, Christmas. But I made sure they all have a very metal look to them and they fit with the colors of the metal, because we don't want to start adding paper flowers and things like that. Okay, so one little tiny piece here, and I think I'm going to add another piece on this side here. And maybe one more little tiny piece on this side. So I'll be completely happy with everything. Okay, so I think we are done with embellishing our tree. Just for the center of the flower, and now I think that we're done. So what I want to do now is take those two little metal squares with the numbers 24 and add them, and again, because of the differences of heights, I need to do that with some foam tape, the problem with using foam tape sometimes on metal parts is that it doesn't stick very well if there is a lot of rust and dust and grainy stuff on the metal that did not come off when you clean it. So it doesn't stick properly. So what I'm going to do here is glue the foam tape with some glue and then create a tower of some foam tape pieces and then add my numbers on top of that. Does that make any sense? Very small pieces here, and believe me, it will be very strong later because of the tacky glue. Don't worry about it. So another piece on top of the first piece. And those metal squares are very small, so they're very light. There's no problem for that little foam tape piece to hold them in place. They will not fall. Okay, so the 24 is there, and I just want to stamp Merry Christmas on my canvas here. So I'm using Lawn Fawn letter stamps, and just going to spell the word Mary. That should start with a capital M and not a small m. Even I know that. So I'm just arranging the letters, and again the fun part is for them not to be in a straight line, all facing, you know, all standing in the same place. I never like that. I always like them to be a little bit messy. So I'm using StazOn black ink, which apparently has dried off slightly, so I'm just going to do that again with the black distress ink. And this is what's good about acrylic stamps, is that you can go ahead and stamp exactly at the same place that you did before, because it's transparent. So the word Christmas had to be divided into 2 parts because it was too long. And now 2 pieces of 1 word, Merry Christmas. And I want to add a little sort of gifts. I'm cleaning another piece of metal. See all the dirt that's coming off of it? Unbelievable. And I'm using this bezel, which I'm cutting away the ring that is attached to it because it's supposed to be like a locket on a chain, but it's square, so I'm going to use that and tie a little bit of twine around it and tie it with a bow, and this will be a present that is going to be placed under the tree. So I'm going to use this one and that dirty rusty metal that I cleaned earlier, and I'm going to use another piece of metal which is like a buckle of some sort. I don't even know where I got it and when I got it. Sometimes I have things that suddenly I discover I have them in my stash, and they have been sitting there for a long time, and suddenly I find use for them, so I have no idea where I got that one. So I'm just tying the twine to add to it. This is going to be a second present. Just going to use the larger one first. Tie a little bit of twine around it too, and that red twine is going to add just a little tiny bit of color to all this brown, black, and all their shades. It's just a little splash of color. And again, I'm using foam tape just to make it pop a little bit more. This one's gonna go here. And finally, I just want to add some stars. And I'm going to use very small beads and metal embellishments as my stars and just add them all around the canvas like little dots of light around the tree. Well, they don't light too much because they're metal, but you get the point, right? It is a steampunk canvas after all. So this is coming on very nicely. Just going to add a few more stars. And I'm using different sizes and different, you know, patterns and textures on the parts, on the small parts that I'm adding. So it will be interesting and not very uniform. Adding a few more. Here and there. So that means that always have some beads around, even if you're not a jewelry maker. I have tons of beads. I use them for lots of stuff and not necessarily for jewelry. So here is an idea what you can do with the beads. So I'm really happy about this canvas. It turned out beautifully. I hope you're inspired to create your own steampunk creation. I want to thank everyone for joining me. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done it already. And of course, I always encourage you to visit my website. I have a new steampunk class coming up very soon, and I have other classes there too, so you can go ahead and check it out. And thank you very much for joining me. Have a great week, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, you guys.